This channel started by talking about affordable stuff. And actually it started because I got upset about some products that I bought that were in the $2,000 to $4,000 range. And they didn't wow me. But as the channel has grown, I've got to listen to a ton of stuff. And that's why today I'm going to talk about my favorite products regardless of price. We're talking amps, speakers, turntables, DACs, sources, the whole thing. However, there is one caveat. It's only stuff that I've had in for a review. So nothing I've listened to at an audio show unless I've had it in for review. And don't just click off if you have no interest in products probably above $1,500. Don't click off because you will be shocked, you will be amazed, you will be surprised at some of the products that I choose. I think they're better than much more expensive products. So sit down. Now, don't judge me either, please. I still love affordable stuff. So sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and let's talk about my favorite audio products, the ones that I use for my own edification, my own pleasure. We'll talk about that today. Integrated amplifiers. They're super convenient. It's awesome. You have the preamp, you have the amplifier all in one box. Some of them have a lot of options. Some of them do not. And my favorite integrated amplifier comes in at $2,000 and it's the Unico Primo. I had a chance to go to Italy and see how the sausage is made, but instead of sausage, it's yummy amplifiers and speakers and CD players and stuff. Just kidding. If you haven't seen that video, you should really check it out. I will link it in the description. The Unico Primo integrated amplifier is analog only, which means no DAC, which means no phono stage, although you can spec it with one. And that's why I love it. That's one of the reasons why I love it. Another reason why I love it is it's super beefy. I think there's a ton of current. It runs a little bit in Class A too, and it has a tube. And this tube doesn't suck. I usually don't like tubes at all because I feel like they're way too thin on the bottom. But since it's integrated into a beefy amplifier, look at it. It's got like this wooden logo, kind of a rough exterior. Beautiful knobs, beautiful switching feeling. Puts out enough power to drive anything I've had on it. Another reason why I love it though is you get to choose your own DAC. You get to choose your own phono preamp. I know $2,000 isn't an insignificant amount of money, but the first integrated amplifier that enraged me enough to start the channel was the Moon by Sim Audio, which came in, I think, around $2,500. I think it's now $3,500, and it doesn't hold a candle to the Unico Primo. Frankly, I haven't heard an integrated amp that has this much power, this much control, and I'm talking real power. I'm not talking about like power on a piece of paper. But more than anything, this amplifier has a three-dimensional soundstage that I've never heard before, and everything that I hooked up to it sounded better. And I think that's going to be a recurring theme. Every one of these components, whatever they're touching, it makes everything better. The Unico Primo, best integrated amplifier, the one that I listen to for my own pleasure. My favorite turntable is the Michelle Audio Techno Deck. Now you have to buy your own tone arm, you have to buy your own cartridge. It gets to be pretty expensive, and the way that I have mine set up I think is around $3,500. I have the E4 Goldring E4 cartridge on there, which I love, and I don't remember what tone arm I have on there. Anyway, I love this so much, and I bragged about it so much that it's at a friend's house right now. He's trying it out. He's thinking about buying a Michelle, and I was very nervous about letting him borrow it. Anyway, I took a leap of faith. It's over at his house. I don't know if you can get a turntable that sounds as good or is as good as the Michelle for the price. Maybe you can. I don't know, but I don't care. I like the way it looks. I like the way I interact with it, and it sounds great. DAC, DAC. If you watch the channel for any length of time, a DAC is a digital to analog converter. I guess that's for if you're new here. But if you watch the channel for any length of time, this is probably not going to be a surprise to you. It's the Just Shelly Labs Daisy DAC. Comes in around $1,300 depending upon how you configure it. This thing is awesome. It's a fixed voltage, so you cannot control volume with this DAC. You have balanced outputs, single-ended outputs. You can do a bunch of stuff with this DAC. Comes with the AKM 4499 DAC chip and then whatever associated chip. So it comes with two of those. Basically what you have is a single DAC for each channel. So it's kind of like having two J2s or J3s under the hood at the same time. Mine is made in acrylic. It's completely see-through. Also has 8 swappable op amps, but if you do one, you kind of have to do them all. But if you want to, you can change the op amps out on this thing. The best DAC I've ever heard. Full stop. The best DAC I've ever heard. I've had stuff in around the same price point and it just doesn't hold a candle. And I'm talking about with the stock Texas Instruments op amps, which are no slouches by themselves. If you start to roll some of these op amps with some Sparkos or Bursins or something else, you can take this thing to an even further level. Then you can hook up a linear power supply, a good one, and take it even further. This is probably the most important product when it comes to digital music in my chain. And it's $1,300. Expensive, but achievable. The streamer, oddly enough, is the Weem Ultra. I have access to more expensive streamers, but I don't use them because they're more complicated to use. I like the Ultra because it has HDMI ARC, which means if I'm using the Unico Primo, I can still run the TV right through the Unico Primo. Not a problem. And if I want to control volume, I can do that. It's not optimum. And if I'm really wanting to listen to some awesome digital music, then I'm running the digital output from the Weem Ultra into the Daisy and the Daisy analog into the Unico Primo. My point is, though, that even though there is a lot more expensive streamers out there, and I have some in the house, I don't use them. I like the Ultra better, especially running through an external DAC. You're splitting hairs. Maybe there's a slight difference, but you're really splitting hairs if you already have your favorite DAC hooked up to the Weem Ultra. With the HDMI, with the room correction, with the subwoofer control, it doesn't get much better. I don't want anything more expensive. My cassette player is the TIAC AD850. Also comes with a CD player. That's not going to be my CD player of choice, though, for my money is no object. This really is there for novelty's sake. If I want to pop in a cassette and listen to it, I have it there. AD850 comes in around $550. Same model as a Tascam, identical model, and the Tascam is, oddly enough, more expensive. Anyway, the AD850, if I want to listen to cassettes. The CD transport is the Schkit Erd. It's a little bit wonky to get used to with the hieroglyphics instead of words on it, but I like it. I like the looks of it. I'm sure I could get something cheaper and like the Rotel CD11 or something like that. Emotiva has a CD player that plays differential, which is awesome too, but it doesn't play gaplessly. So I want something that plays gaplessly. I like the Erd, comes in around $1,300. The Erd would not be a deal breaker though. If I found a CD transport that I like better for a lower price, then I'd probably go with that, but I dig it because of the looks. This is going to be a bit crazy. So I'm going to do 2 power amps, one differential or one balanced, and then one single-ended. Now for my single-ended power amplifier, it would be the X160 or A160 from Advanced Paris. And then here's a weird thing. I would actually use the A10 Classic from Advanced Paris, which is an integrated amplifier, but I would use that as the preamp on it because it has the HDMI ARC. And it has VU meters, so now I have 2 sets of VU meters. It's got a great DAC in it. I probably wouldn't use that DAC. I'd probably use the Daisy DAC, but I've used that combo together, and having the 2 sets of VU meters is pretty awesome. For a balanced amplifier, I would use the DR1s from Emotiva. Huge though. If I was gonna buy them now, I would buy both channels in the same chassis. They put out a ginormous amount of power though. 650 watts into 8 ohms, 1000 watts into 4 ohms. Nuts. Bananas. For the preamp on that one, I would use the Skit Kara, which is only $700. I would also consider the Advanced Paris X700, which has truly balanced architecture as well. But then I don't have the VU meters. Anyway, I really want the VU meters. But if you want pure raw power that is amazing, DR1s or the DR2. This is where it gets interesting. For speakers, I would choose either, depending upon the system, either the XT1s from Emotiva, which are $1,000. They're a tower speaker. 3 woofers, a mid-range driver, and a tweeter on the top. They're spectacular. They're punchy. They're clean. They're clear. They're $1,000. And I would still choose that speaker over a lot more expensive speakers. Or I would choose the Q Acoustics 5040. There we go. Not even the biggest tower speaker, because in my room, even my large room, the bass was a little bit overwhelming on the 5050. 5040s are, for me, the Goldilocks zone, and those come in at $1,500. So I'm not choosing crazy expensive speakers on these systems. It's just what I like and what I think sounds the best. Subwoofer would be the SB1000 Pro, another somewhat budget choice. $600, $500-$600, has an app, is everything that I need, and is quick enough. And then for my phono preamp, it would be the Tube Box S2 or something like that from Rotel. It's the one with tubes in it, or, cost is no option here, the Gold Note PH5, which is just bananas good. But what about you? Put it in the comments. What is your cost is no option system? I want to see it. I want to learn about it. I want to love it. Speakers especially though. Speakers for me on this one was the most interesting part, because I would still choose speakers that are relatively affordable over any of the super expensive speakers I've heard. If you like this video, then you'll love my video about my favorite products, my favorite cheap products. Check it out here or here. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe.